Alright, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are, wherever you are. You are watching another edition of Affordable Model Railroads. You asked for it. And what we're going to do today is show you how to flex your sometimes hard to flex O-scale 3-rail flex track. My name is James. Got Ian back there behind the camera and talking on the cell phone. And previous episodes we showed you how to lay your full-size track plan print down, and then we showed you how to put the super quiet roadbed on it. Two different ways. We showed you with the Elmer's glue, and then we also showed you with the double-sided tape. Either way works just fine. And we had some people that asked, well, how can we call it super quiet roadbed? And it's real simple. It's real quiet. That's plywood, that's cork, and that's our super quiet roadbed. Big difference. Plywood, cork, super quiet. So that's why we call it super quiet roadbed. We believe it is the quietest roadbed on the market, and we have another video that's just about the roadbed, so you can access that, and it'll tell you all about the different sizes and different bevels, all kinds of good stuff. But today we're going to concentrate on doing flex track. Now, to do this our way, all you need is a drill to pre-drill into your ties, the screws that you're going to put the track down with, and a screwdriver. In this case, we've got these power ones to make things go quicker, and then some snippers for the plastic. The flex track is really hard to bend in O-scale sometimes because, well, you try bending it one way and the ends bend the other way, and it doesn't really bend the way you want it to bend all the time. Couldn't find any videos by Gargraves or anybody that makes the flex track on how to do it. There's a couple of YouTube videos up there. I saw a couple of guys that used either cut out all their radiuses out of wood or metal forms, and then they sat there and bent it around the forms. And it's kind of like, well, if you got to go to the trouble of building all those forms just to flex your track, why bother buying flex track, right? So I came up with a little bit simpler idea, and you can see on the track here that all the ties are put together with these inserts here, the tie strip, and that's the reason they don't flex too well, because they're tied to each other, so you can't bend the whole thing all at once. That's kind of hard to do. So what I thought that I would do is start cutting some of these pieces out in between, and I just came up with different combinations of one, do I do every other, do I do every third, and the one that seems to work best is I do every other one in opposite sides, and so that keeps the integrity of a couple of ties together, and it kind of keeps the whole tie strip together. But if you notice here, if we take two here and we cut them out, and then we cut a couple more out here, take two and cut it, go through two and cut it, take two, cut it. You can now bend those ties somewhat independently of each other, and they will flex with your rail a lot easier rather than trying to push real hard on each one, because they'll push into these gaps as you move it down the line. So what I have done is just kind of kept that pattern up. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this piece of track here, and probably during the editing process we will speed it up so you don't have to sit here and watch me do this tedious work. You'll have to do it, but you won't have to watch me if you don't want to. That's what the fast forward button is for. It really doesn't take that long for each strip, and it's something that you can easily do, is sit down with a bunch of your flex track while you're watching TV. Some of the playoff games this year aren't real exciting anyway, so you can go ahead and do it while you're watching football or watching the Final Four, March Madness, whatever, just in between. Alright, so you get those cut through there. Now, as usual, most people will lay down their track with screws. Typically I like to use a number 8 wood screw. It's thin enough, it'll go through the ties, it won't break them, it won't snap them. Unfortunately, we forgot to bring them to the set. So today, what we're going to do is use these drywall screws. They're a little bit thicker. They have a tendency to put a bigger hole in the track, and you run the risk of breaking some of your ties. So to minimize that, we just kind of pre-drill where we think we're going to put ties in here. So I'm just going to pre-drill a few of these. Pilot holes in them. And on the straight tracks, you don't have to put hardly any pilot holes. The curved tracks, you want to put a few more because you want to put screws as you bend it. And there's no rhyme or reason to this. I don't have any real pattern. It's just sort of at random. Put a couple there so I get a nice, it'll hold it on a nice smooth curve. So I'm going to start by laying my straight in here, because that gives me, sort of what I would call a pivot point. You get your straight one lined up. Has a tendency to then not want to move when you get to the curve. You don't want to do that. That's a little too hard there. Okay, so now you can see this now bends nice and smooth right around your corner. And if you periodically put your screws in as you bend it, you might want to sometimes back it out a little bit and then go back in so you don't depress those. And again, I'm using a bigger screw here than we would normally use. And if you get any kinks in the track, because you cut the sections out, you can see you can just smoothly bend that rail back in and put your next screw in. The trick is just not getting your screws in to where they bend your ties, because that will, number one, it doesn't look very good, but it also won't keep you a nice straight curve in there if your ties aren't there to keep it in there. And again, even though I'm using drywall screws for this demonstration, a number 8 wood screw is what we actually recommend. Now at this point, once you've got it this far, you could go ahead and actually put your next piece of track on here and bend it around together if you want to, but we're not going to take the time to do that in the video. We're just going to curve this one around and put our screw in. Okay, so as you can see, you've got a real nice smooth curve here, and that was pretty quick and simple. You just continue that all the way around. Now remember, get the right screws. Get the number 8 wood screws. Don't use drywall screws, because they'll crack your ties if you're not real perfect. Alright, so we will try to be posting one of these videos every week or so. So be sure that you subscribe and come back, and we'll show you tips and tricks for all kinds of model railroad stuff for all kinds of different scales. Thanks for watching. You asked for it, from Affordable Model Railroads.